We can't control situations around us all the time. We can't control what happens to us. But what's important to know is, what is happening to us isn't who we are. It's just what's happening to us right now. Our circumstances don't define us. And I always go over that because it's so easy to see the situation we're in and feel so defeated and blame ourselves or blame others or whatever it is. When really the circumstances, it's not forever, and it's something that we can work our way out of every single time. And I'm living proof of that because for so long, I was in this defeated nature, and I did live a life like that where I didn't see any hope, and I just was about to give in. And once I changed my mindset and decided to take steps and take action towards what I wanted is when everything started to change. Things started to look completely different. I mean, nothing had literally changed, but things started to look different because I decided to look at it a different way. So it's starting with you. I say master your own energy, and I don't mean that in a sense of like new age or anything. It's more of controlling taking control of what you can. Not everything we can't control. So you bless and release that, and what you can, you take full advantage of that. For us in this business, that's our fitness, that's our nutrition, that's our personal development, that's inviting. Those are things that you have control over. And they came up with those 3 vital behaviors for a reason. It's because that's exactly what you need to do to move your business forward. So if you aren't taking that into your own hands and doing that every single day, then you can't blame what's happening in your business on anything else. Even if you didn't have an upline like Lindsay Matway, who had no upline, she could have said, I have no upline, and not done anything. And we wouldn't be here in the Bombshell Dynasty, in Dynasty United, Team Dynasty by Design. We wouldn't be here if she decided that her circumstances were going to define what she would do in this business. She decided to take those 3 vital behaviors. She decided to create her own team, her own community of what she would have wanted, and she ran with it. And I know that I'm so glad she did, and I hope you are too, because this business is completely changing my life. So no matter what, we've all got the resources that you can take and modify and make your own. You've all got, tips, videos. YouTube has a plethora of videos from all top coaches who are just rivers. I've got tips on mine. Brittany has great tips. Podcasts are my favorite thing. And you'll hear me harp on personal development all the time because whenever I do have bad days and weeks and I'm about to go in the dumps, I feel myself getting there. And even this week I was in a funk one day and I'm like, no, I can take into my hands what I need. I got my fitness done. I got my workout done and posted it, made sure to have my Shakeology and talk about it. And then I dove into podcasts while I was doing my power hour because I knew that that's what I needed. I needed to find a different outlook on what was happening. And it completely turned my day around. Just looking for what I needed to hear, the topics that I wanted to improve on, listening to them and going for it. And you'll see down there, relate via personal development. It doesn't have to be reading a book because I don't always want to read a book. Sometimes I will pick one up if I just want some quiet time and just soak in words and highlight. But really my favorite way are podcasts and YouTube. And that's totally okay. I'll listen to YouTube while I work out. I'll listen to podcasts while I power hour, or while I'm doing some recognition posts or working on some creative posts, I'll listen to podcasts. However you want to soak it in or however it works for you, do that. It doesn't have to be a book, an audiobook, whatever it is, but get that personal development in. It's one of the first things I always recommend because that's what works. And, other top coaches wouldn't recommend it if it didn't work. Beachbody wouldn't make it a vital behavior if it didn't work. Even you'll hear CEOs of companies mentioning that they still read books and they're making billions. So it's important. It's important to use that as a way to refocus and revive and recoup and get back to what you need to do. And the reason to act, that's your why. That's something that needs to be super strong. It's something that's not just convenient, like, oh yeah, I want to do that. It's something that's deep, where you kind of tear up because you're like, this is something I've always wanted, and now it's possible, and now you put it in the forefront of your mind, and you don't want to stop till you get there. It's your mission. It's your mission statement. It's what you'll do everything in your power to get to because you're committed to it. So your why can change. First it started out for me, I'm discount coach. I just wanted to have accountability and finish a program. I did that. Then it changed to I wanted to get home. I did that. Now it's, building dreams and wanting to, earn an income that can completely change our life and get us to financial freedom and everything. So it changes, but it always has to be that thing that makes you want to not watch Netflix instead of doing some, listening to a past training on something that you want to improve on, or where you're not multitasking, where you're focusing on one thing at a time. It's got to be something that's strong, that keeps you going when you don't want to keep going, because there's many days like that. But when you have a why that you visualize and you see and you feel, you'll stop at nothing to get there. And visualizing is super important as well. Focus on adding value to and helping others. That is something that kind of goes back to personal development, because whenever I read or listen or anything, I try to pull something from it that I can share on my page. And what that does is it not only adds value to my people, but I'm gaining value by finding this info in the first place. And then I get encouraged when others get encouraged. So for me, that it's like comes a full circle. It's like read your PD, then share it with others, be inspired because they're inspired. And, it's an awesome cycle to be in. So when you do that, try to pull something that you can post with a picture of you or a quote that you might find or whatever, however you want to share it. But use that opportunity to really add value to others in a way you don't even know who you can encourage, because you never know who is going through or feeling the exact same way you are. And so it's really cool to get to see someone be like, I'm so glad you posted that today. I needed that. It's a good feeling. Sometimes, it's what keeps me going that day. And like I said before, believe you can achieve at a high level, really, really dream big. There's a video by Gary Vaynerchuk that I love. Not Gary Vaynerchuk. Oh, shoot. I'm losing his name right now. It's someone you listen to too, Amy. I remember I posted it in the group and you started listening to him. Yes, Brendon Burchard. I read your lips. And he talks about setting dumb goals. Instead of setting the smart goals where it's like, make it, achievable, but a little bit more, he's like, set big ones. Like when we talk about the why, he's talking about set dumb goals where people look at you like you're crazy, because you can do it. I mean, why not? Why not go for it? Why hold yourself back and say, okay, maybe this, and then if I get a little bit more, that'd be cool too. Instead of like, I'm going to do this huge thing. I want to be part of something bigger than myself, and then really going for it. So believing, like I said, like every top coach I listen to says, really believing it, not just saying it, but believing it. And you guys, sometimes that takes practice. It takes practice for me every single day. Sometimes I really don't believe that I'm going to maybe hit Success Club this, that month, or maybe I don't believe I can get this awesome coach that I've been talking to, but I'm not going to tell myself that. I'm not going to beat myself down, because when I do that, things change, posts change, my attitude changes. Even my workouts don't seem as fun, inviting and talking to people don't seem as fun, because I go into it defeated, and that's not going to move your business forward. So constantly practicing to change your thoughts to, I don't think I can do this, to how can I do this? That's what you have to change it to. Instead of saying, can I, and really putting that defeating tone on it, you say, how can I? And it immediately puts hope into the situation, and you are going to find out what activities you need to do to really get where you're going to go. And then I put attitude check, because that's super important. It's, like I said, it's not who you are, it's what's happening to you. So these circumstances don't define you. It's not who you are. You want to find out, like, how do I want to look, show up in the world? Do I want to show up as someone who's negative all the time? Or do I want to show up as someone who finds a silver lining, who looks for good in all situations, who wants to encourage everybody around me? For me, that's how I want to be. I want to be in a situation and I want to look around like, what could be good in here? And it may take longer some days than others, but I really do try to find the good, because it not only encourages me, but it encourages someone else who might be going through the same situation. And then this, I like this, have a short-term memory for things. So if something happens to you in this business, you can't hold on to it and expect it or say that it's going to happen again, because then you're going to see it. What you focus on expands. And like I said before, when I was in a circumstance and I changed my mindset, things looked different, even though they weren't different, but they looked different because I started seeing things that were good instead of focusing on the negative. So that's super important. And so you have to have a short-term memory. If a coach decides to go with someone else, or a challenger switches to another coach, or you find out something else, that someone cancels. It hurts, it stings. And I know, mourn over it for a second, but then you got to get over it and you got to move forward and you got to say, okay, who is the next person that I can help and change their life? Because even if someone does go with someone else, you still were a part of changing their life. And that's still a really cool and awesome thing. So don't take it to heart. It's not who you are. It's just what happened. So mourn for a second, but don't hold grudges. Don't let it affect the next conversation, because you don't want someone, like in the service industry, if I had a bad table, I didn't want to go to the next table and treat them like crud just because another table was, terrible to me. That's not, you didn't want a bad experience for someone else because of how a previous table or a previous conversation was, because then you might lose out on encouraging someone or helping someone. And that's definitely not what we're about. Everyone matters. And so you have to treat each person as a fresh new face, a fresh new conversation, and dive in and try to help them. And then I talk about environment. Like you are here right now, and I'm so proud of you for being here, is you got to plug in. You got to show up. These team calls I always pull something away from them. Even getting ready for this call, I pulled something away and learned something. And I learned something every Thursday with Dynasty United team calls. And I go back and watch Bombshell Dynasty calls all the time. And that's seriously where I learn the most to grow my business. If I don't show up, I'm not learning. And if you're not learning, you're not moving forward. And that is what you want to constantly do. You're never going to stop learning. Top coaches don't stop learning. They're constantly having to innovate and find new ways, because social media is always changing. Beachbody is always changing. There's always new programs and new things coming out. So it's always good to stay plugged in, to not just do that, but then apply what you learn. And it's going to take practice. And the last thing I want to leave you with, because I said I wanted to be fast so we could ask questions, is that growth takes time. It takes time. So even talking about all this, and I'm like, change your mindset. I know that you're not going to wake up tomorrow and be like, it's a bright, sunshiny day if you're having a bad week. But I want you to just take small steps, like change one thought. Like when you wake up, say it is a bright, sunshiny day. Thank God for waking you up. Whatever it is, you got to take those steps to really change how you're thinking. And the more that you do it, the more that you practice, the more it becomes natural. It's like now I get a thought and I'll be like, whoa, and I catch myself and I'll like, air slap myself or something. Like you got to snap out of it, because you're going to hold yourself back. And that's to me, that's scary, is holding myself back. So I'd rather just turn my thoughts around right away and focus on what I can control, what I can do right now. And if I don't know what that is, finding out, post in the group, talk to your upline, talk to me, anybody, go to YouTube, figure out what you need to do to move forward. We don't all have the answers. If I don't have it, I'll find it for you. I know if your upline doesn't have it, they'll find it for you. So don't be afraid to ask. I feel stuck. I don't know what to do. And then when they give you that advice, take it and run with it, because it's not just pulled out of thin air. It's usually from an experience or from something they learned. So really take it to heart, because I know your upline, I know me for one, really do care about seeing you succeed. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard, because I'm living it right along with you. But I'm in the trenches right along with you too. So just rather than saying I'm doing this and I'm not getting this, just keep on doing it, because you build that momentum, you build that credibility, you build that trust, and people that are following you will start to come to you. And things that you're doing, you'll get better at it, and it'll become more natural, and you'll feel better doing it because you're coming into your own. So don't worry about getting it perfect the first time. And that goes with anything in this business. Don't worry about getting it perfect the first time. Just keep going, keep learning, keep modifying, change the way you're getting there, but never the goal, and keep going strong. So I just want to open it up now for questions so that you guys can ask anything. It doesn't